Welcome back, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, to the Super Not Funny Show Reviews. I am Mo Thépuppét, your resident Fabricant and commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And today we're going to be reviewing the fourth episode of Clarice from CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus, and it's entitled You Can't Rule Me. Well, was it good? Was it bad? And should you be watching? Stick around because I have opinions. All right, before we get into this review, as usual, I will be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first, and then, after a warning, we'll go into my spoiler thoughts in the spoiler territory. All right, we're ready to go? Let's get to this. So, Episode 4 of Clarice, You Can't Rule Me. Of course, that says a lot about many things that are happening in this episode, as you'll see as we discuss. But this episode is really all about the fallout of the previous episode, in which a person that's of interest, only one they have interest, he killed some people, but was going to turn on the people that hired him to expose a conspiracy, and he gets murdered under the watch of the FBI. And so this is all about who's going to be held responsible for this man's death, and of course, who's going to get held responsible is VICAP, and they're just trying to figure out how hard can they clap down on VICAP. And so the episode proceeds from interviews with all of the officers, all of the detectives involved, and of course Clarice, who we see getting treated with kid gloves, as if, I don't know, she's special or something. It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that she was handpicked for this role by the Attorney General, and that she maybe have some kind of celebrity or something like that that can make her attractive to other people. Couldn't be that. So from there, we have VICAP sideline put to talking to crank callers or whatever on the complaint lines, but also really wanting to solve this, not just this murder, the murder of the man that was in their custody, but also to see who could have done it and why. And so the rest of the episode is them trying to investigate under the noses of the very hostile investigators who want nothing more than to see the head of VICAP, Paul Krendler, go down for the entire thing. As a side, a side plot thread, we also have Clarice's roommate and friend, Ardelia, who has been brought up from the cold case office to also investigate this and follow, they're really putting her in charge of nailing Paul Krendler for fucking up everything. That's essentially what it is. And she's taking it very seriously, and it's a strain on her friendship with Clarice, especially because Clarice seems so dead set on solving the crime that she doesn't see that there's more going on than just this murder investigation, that her friend has a lot at stake in proving herself on this case. And what follows in the rest of the episode, let me tell you, there is some investigation, there is some intrigue and interest. The plot does move forward on the conspiracy angle, and I like all of that. But in addition to that, there is a lot of character development here. In particular, Paul Krendler, he becomes more of a three-dimensional character here. He's not just an asshole who has it out for Clarice, but instead he's a guy who's dedicated to his job and to the work and to the people that work under him. And it shines forth in the way he directs them, but also the way he interacts with the person who is being hostile in their investigation when it's clear that they're trying to take him down. Additionally, we get to see a little more development. Actually, the two people that get the most development is Krendler and Ardelia, who we saw in the previous episode was pivotal in providing some evidence that would have what led to the suspect being willing to talk. So we already know she's a competent investigator, but we see here she is a great investigator, but she's got her hands tied and she's running up against, let's just call it what it is, prejudice against her for being a woman and being a person of color within the FBI in the 90s. And the way she handles herself throughout this investigation, even in the face of well-meaning help from her friend, Clarice. And I really enjoy that aspect of this episode, that all of this, there's more to this than just the investigation. There's the problems of the culture in the FBI and how they treated people like Ardelia, who graduated second in her class but was stuck in a basement looking at cold cases and doing nothing when she should be in the field. Stuff like that. It's intriguing to see, have those layers peeled back and see some real talk about real things. Additionally, we also see a little bit more from the VICAP team themselves, as Clarice, I guess, let's just say, she's no longer the outsider. They've more or less brought her in, and she proves herself and her loyalty. And we also see her learning a little bit more about herself and her situation and how she came to be where she is through the lens of someone who isn't, particularly taken with her celebrity or her genius or whatever you want to call it. And that's Krendler himself, who explains that the way she got her notoriety could easily be in the way that she got killed and got other people killed. Found all that very fascinating, very interesting. This was an episode chock full of stuff going on. There's a lot of subtext. There's a lot of overt talking about things. There's a lot of underneath. And, of course, there's still this investigation, which moves forward in a significant way. And we get some interesting developments there. Some stuff that I sort of saw coming that I explained in the spoilers. But I wasn't bothered by the predictability of things, because this was told in an interesting way. This show it looks great. It's acted. The people who are on this show, they are acting, just above and beyond. They're doing what they're supposed to. They're making me want to, like the characters and want to care about what the hell's going on with them. And I do care. Especially Rebecca Bree, she's doing great. I wish I knew the actress that played Ardelia. She's on fire. Guy that plays Paul Krendler, he's killing it. It's just all around great. Even the guy that's being a dick in this one, the guy investigating, he's great. I love all around. Just really, really like this episode. I think this episode was, worth the price of admission. It was totally a good reason to continue on with this show. And in my opinion, this is the episode that made me say, okay, I want to see where this goes. I'm sticking with this show to the end. So those are my spoiler-free thoughts about this episode, Clarice episode 4, You Can't Rule Me. What did you think about the episode if you saw it? If you haven't seen it, what did you think about my review? I'd love to hear from you, so you can hit me up down in the comments. And of course, you can always email me, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. We can chop it up about this episode. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. That would help us out a lot. And hit that bell for the notifications when we drop more content around here. Of course, we're always doing more reviews, more reactions, and any other little things that float our pop culture boat. All right, so if you don't want to be spoiled, thank you for joining us, but you're going to have to get on out of here. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Are they gone? All right. Spoiler time. Let's get into it. Oh gosh, there's not a lot that happened in here that's so spoilery that you're just like, oh no, to ruin the show for me if you tell me all about it. But let's get into the stuff that's spoilery. The main investigation, let's get to that. Was any of it a surprise? I did like that they tracked down who are these guys that were hired to come and kill this Wellick guy. Of course, we didn't really find anything about them, aliases and whatever. Hitman. Surprise, they use fake IDs and stuff. But they did find a real lead, the Mary Felker person, and the fact that they tracked her down, like that part of the episode, that it was almost as an aside. Just okay, yeah, we're gonna we'll keep on investigating because who wants to sit and listen to people talk about UFOs on a phone? I get that. They found her really easy. I suspected that she was actually Mary all along. It was let's just say it's fairly obvious, especially when they got to the home that they broke. They busted in and they were like, oh, there's two of them and they're twins. So, of course, if they're twins and one of them is in a wheelchair, clearly the one that was not in a wheelchair, the person that was in a wheelchair is supposed to be the doctor. And I was like, she probably took the place of her sister over here, and her actual sister is somewhere else. And surprise, there she was. Also, I want to note something that's related to something else. Paul Krendler, he foreshadowed what was going to happen at the end of this episode. Let's just call it like that. Talking about the way that Clarice went off on her own, endangered herself, and she wasn't a team player and all this other stuff. And wouldn't you know, she goes and endangers herself, not a team player, and this time she gets fucked for it. So I thought that was a good shout out to what they were talking about earlier in the episode. And the only other thing is, why does the IV of random drugs always work? What is that? Is that IV? It just stabs through everything, clothes and everything. It looked like she stabbed through all of her coat and everything. I'm just saying come on. But it's a trope. You gotta deal with that. It makes sense to everybody. Okay, she got injected with rando drug. So Clarice she's in trouble now, especially because she seems to have run into the only concrete lead they have to this conspiracy. Should be interesting to see how that works out. Beyond that, I guess the rest of it really revolved around. This episode is really about, in my opinion, there's about two things. One, it was about the links. It was about how Paul Krendler isn't a bad guy, and in fact, he's willing to take a bullet for his team, career-wise. And it's about the professional jealousy that, goes from one person that they seem like they didn't make anything to, get any opportunities to the person that got all the opportunities. And that's really seemed to be what it was about between Krendler and this Herman guy, Director Herman, I guess his name. And the animosity that came along with that. And that Paul Krendler, he's not a bad guy. He's about the life. He's about the work. He respects people. He respects Clarice. He just pissed off that she got thrown to the wolves first off, and now it's kind of skewed her perspective about what's normal in the FBI for somebody like her. But overall, we really see who he is as a person. We see who some of the people in VICAP are as a person. I always forget these people's names, but the person Cal Penn plays, he's on the level. He's probably the most on the level person on there. Esquivel clearly likes Clarice, and the other guy, gosh, I can't remember the names, but he really shows like he's a salty old dog at the game, but he and Krendler are cut from the same mold, and they've been at it for a while. I liked Herman as the adversary, the desk jockey that knows all the political and bureaucratic tricks and tools to get his way and to hurt his opponent. That's fun. Also seeing him having his nice juicy T-bone in front of him ready to chow down because they had proof that Krendler had fucked with the logs, and then having it snatched away. That was fun too. We always like stuff like that. We know he'll be back. I feel certain we'll see this guy again. On the other side, we have Ardelia dealing with, let's just call it what it is, being passed up because of who she is and what she looks like. And she's clearly competent. I'd even say more than competent. She is possibly a better agent than Clarice, because in this episode, she repeatedly shows that she is a team player, but that in this case, she's trying, as a team player, trying to do her most so she can get to where she's trying to go career-wise. The time she really had to check Clarice on her moral crusade, anybody, they're like, oh man, she's doing the right thing. Is she really doing the right thing? Is she? She's breaking protocol, jeopardizing investigations, possibly putting a black mark on her friend's whole thing just because she's obsessed with this case. I mean, I think Ardelia said a lot of things that were important. And what I liked the most about it is, when she talked to the guy about the Black Coalition, that was cool to see. She's like, you know what, that I respect you, but I got other ways to go about it. I believe in what I can do myself. And then getting Clarice to admit that the way she was going about things, the way she saw things, was in fact flawed. And to her credit, to the credit of the people who were writing this, Clarice doesn't try to defend herself, but it says, how can I be better now? And in my opinion, even though this friendship was jeopardized, it was also strengthened by the fact that they could, agree and come together and say, let's be better and let's work together. And we both care about what's going on. We both care about the work. We just want to make this happen. Really loved all that. Really loved all the character development in this episode. This show, it didn't get off to a rocky start. So far it's had all good episodes, and I'm really looking forward to how it moves forward in the future. So those are my spoiler thoughts on this episode. I'm sure I missed some things, but that's what's really just come to my mind right now. Did you like what I had to say? Did you agree, disagree? You know what? We can chop it up down in the comments, or you can always hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1. Get at me and we'll talk about this show and this episode. Of course, you can always hit a like down there, hit the like button. That's good for us in the show. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you're not, you haven't hit the notification bell, why don't you do it so you'll know when we drop more content. All right, thanks again, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, for joining me for this particular review of Clarice, Episode 4. And join me next week for Clarice, Episode 5, for the next review of that. And, of course, any other reviews we're going to be doing this coming week. All right, I've been Mo Thépuppét, your resident Fabricant and commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture. And I will see all you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.